This is the Investor Connect podcast program. I'm Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of this show in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, family offices, private equity, and many other investors for early stage and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Investor Connect is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors and startups for fundraising. Please consider donating $100 to the program to help others in their investor and entrepreneur journey. You can find the donate button on the investorconnect.org website. Hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Alicia Cramer, host of the Mind of Business Success podcast and business mindset mentor at AC Intl LLC. AC International helps businesses owners retrain their minds to create a life and business they love. Alicia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Hall.
Great. So where are you calling from today?
So I am in Tucson, Arizona. Normally I'd say it's nice and warm and sunny. At the time of this recording, it's sunny and cool.
Special time. Well, great. Well, let's kick off with, tell us more about your journey through business and how you pivoted to becoming a business mindset mentor.
Well, let's see. Let's make a long story a short one. So I actually grew up on a dairy farm, and my mom would always say, even though she worked 7 days a week, up early in the morning until working late at night, that the one thing that she appreciated was being her own boss. And something about that stuck with me. As dysfunctional as it was to witness, something about it resonated. When I was 18, I got the entrepreneurial bug, you could say, and started dabbling in like network marketing and things like that. We could say that, like most people's lack of success stories, I was one of those. But that was really just a taste. And at a very young age, I was about 21 years old, I started an e-commerce business. Back before it was easy like it is today with Shopify and stuff like that. And it didn't go well. We'll just say that. But the dream never died, as they say. And when I was about 25 years old, I was out with some girlfriends, was given a date rape drug. When I came to, I had been physically and sexually assaulted, and it kind of rocked me to my core to the extent that I went on a pretty deep inner journey. And in that process, there were things like hypnosis, EFT, which stands for emotional freedom techniques, a lot of different types of energy work, a lot of really deep introspective healing work. It was incredibly transformational for me. And I knew that was my calling. I knew I wanted to help other people in a really meaningful way. And so I went and I got certified in a lot of different stuff. I started a little brick and mortar EFT practice. For anybody listening who's like, what is this? Not electronic funds transfer. That's EFT it's an alternative therapy that is used to help resolve emotional issues, essentially. And I got a little tiny bit of traction for the first time in business, which was exciting, but not sustainable. And so I ended up getting a real job to supplement my income. And I'd always been able to work myself up into leadership positions. So I ended up getting a job managing a cell phone store. And then I find out I'm pregnant with my first child. So here I am sitting in the cell phone store, which, by the way, as anyone who is an entrepreneur in spirit, working at a job is soul sucking, right? So here I am sitting there with this new life inside of me and a new future ahead of me, thinking to myself, I've got to get business right. I've got to do it right this time. And so I did. I got my certification as a hypnotherapist. I opened a brick and mortar hypnotherapy practice. That was back when I lived in Wisconsin. And as they say, the rest is history. Of course, there's plenty of bumps and bruises along the way, but that ended up evolving into an international company, which it is today, working almost exclusively with business owners and entrepreneurs, and in some cases, executives, on overcoming their mindset stuff so they can have the success and the fulfillment that they desire.
Well, that's a tremendous journey, and I'm sure you share that with many of the entrepreneurs you work with and others. It sounds like it's a great story to share with others as well.
Like I said, we always have to condense it down. All of us have a long story, and then we share these sort of highlights, the kind of milestones. There's so many more nuances to the story, but the long and short of it is I absolutely love working with business owners. It is one of the most fulfilling things to see someone who has a passion in their heart to do something that's meaningful for them and to help them get out of their own way so they can really thrive.
So what excites you right now?
So I just published my newest book called Energetic Alignment. It is, of course, for business owners about all the mindset stuff, how to overcome the things that we're consistently bumping up against as we continue to up level and expand, reaching for new goals, reaching for new levels of income, reaching for new levels of success. Anyone who's been on this journey knows it's not you achieve a level of success and live happily ever after. We're always reaching for more. And every time you reach for more, you bump up against that subconscious stuff that you have to work through and transcend in order to get to that next level.
Great. So why is effective leadership so important to you?
I mentioned that I've historically always worked my way up into management, if not going into management right from the get-go. And let's face it, if you've ever had a job and you've had a crappy boss, we know how awful that is. And it's unproductive. It's unproductive for so many reasons. We all want to be treated with respect. And a lot of business owners, executives, are kind of in their own head when it comes to management and leadership. They've got their own biases, their own hangups, their own preconceived beliefs about what someone is just supposed to be able to do. You got hired for this position, just do that thing. But not everybody's wired to just do that thing. Sometimes they've got their own challenges, their own limiting beliefs, and a good leader needs to be able to still, respect people and meet them where they're at and help them to be the best version of themselves for productivity, for the success of everyone. If you can't do that, you're kind of screwed. I know that a lot of clients over the years with a really, really, really high turnover until they were able to kind of do that inner work and get to that place where they could be the effective leader.
Well, mentors are a key part of the entrepreneurial journey. Who's been your most important professional mentor?
I would have to say Dan Kennedy. He's known as a marketing guy, but he's also very much a business mindset guy. And it's over a decade, I've been reading his books, listening to his material. Had the privilege of getting the photo with him early on in my business. And I've always looked to him as a mentor, not just from the marketing side, but very much just in helping me to expand the way that I think about myself as a business owner.
Well, great. Well, there are many myths about running a business. And what's the common myth about the business mindset?
So many people think it's just positive thinking.
No.
It is not just positive thinking. It really does take a tremendous amount of self-discipline to control your thoughts, control your emotions. And you can only do so much BSing yourself. It's only going to get you so far. When we have these limiting beliefs, they're beliefs. They are self-fulfilling prophecies, essentially. And you, in many cases, can't just simply positive talk yourself out of it. You can't just tell yourself when you're bumping up against tremendous internal resistance and fear and conflict, oh, I've got this. Oh, just, put on that happy face. Mindset really is about reworking your subconscious mind. It's about retraining your mind to not just put a Band-Aid over your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, your limiting beliefs. It is about changing the way that you think and feel so that your mind supports you in your endeavors instead of being the stumbling block that it is for most people.
Great. Well, in your opinion, what's the most important personality trait someone needs to become a successful entrepreneur?
I would have to say it really comes down to, are you able to believe in yourself? And that doesn't mean that you pop out of the womb believing in yourself, that you're just naturally a confident person. That means that you've got the stamina to go through the inner processes required to go from where you are, where you want is just sort of this dream, to progressively believing that not only is it possible, but that you can and you will. Whenever you see a successful person, they have that ability to take something that once was a concept in their mind and to get themselves to believe and expect it. And once it becomes an expectation, then you see the realization of it in their life.
Well, great. Well, I enjoyed being on the Mind of Business Success podcast. Can you tell us more about the idea behind it?
That whole show is about helping business owners to see that there is no perfect person. There is no perfect success story, that even the most successful business owners are still on their journey. They're still doing their own inner work. They're still overcoming their fears, their doubts, their insecurities, that this is an evolutionary process, and it doesn't matter where you are or where you've started from. You have the ability to get to where you want to be. That's my passion, is just helping dispel this huge myth that especially new entrepreneurs oftentimes are bumping up against, which is, I don't have what it takes. I don't have the right background. I don't have the right family. I don't have the money. I don't have the this. I don't have the that. And looking at people that they perceive as being so successful as somehow like better than them, or on this pedestal, or they have some kind of unique advantage. And I'm just here to say, no, I'm sorry, friends. That's BS. Let's get real about this. Even the most amazing, accomplished entrepreneurs, they come on and they talk about the truth of the matter. They've had to overcome their stuff. They're still working through their stuff. It is an ongoing process of becoming that successful person. You don't just achieve it, and you're not just born into it. And real entrepreneurs need to know it's okay to be human, and that it's okay to bump up against your stuff. It doesn't have to stop you. You can achieve everything that your heart desires. You just have to be willing to do that inner work.
Well, great. Well, one of the values of running a podcast is that you learn a great deal. Talking to people is a fantastic opportunity to expand your horizons. What's the most important lesson you've learned from your podcast?
I would say coming into it, I already had a lot of the insight. So it's more about not necessarily what I'm learning from the guests, but kind of what I'm learning about myself. So over a decade ago, back before I rebranded into what we are today with AC Intl LLC, I had my little brick and mortar hypnotherapy practice. And so as a marketing vehicle, I started my first podcast. This was over 11 years ago now. And it used to be so polished, right? I think I mentioned this to you when you came on my show, that, I'd have people send in, what bio do you want me to read? What interview questions do you want me to ask? And kind of, just went through that structured approach. And when I started this podcast, I was just not into it anymore. I recognize I'm kind of an old hat now, using the saying there, nothing derogatory towards old hats, but I wanted it to be more raw, more real, more authentic. And I have to say that taking that approach has allowed me to really embrace imperfection within myself and to say, you know what? I'm perfectly imperfect too. And I'm going to be okay with that. And it doesn't have to be polished and it doesn't have to be perfect. And sometimes my mic doesn't sound great. And sometimes somebody says something stupid and it's okay, you know?
Well, that's a great journey in self-exploration. It sounds like you've learned a lot. In the last few minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
One of the things that I always like to remind people, we're so busy going through the motions in life. We have this idea of who we are and what our life is supposed to be or what it is, right? We've got this self-image. And the motions are so much of that just subconscious response to who we believe we are and what we think we're capable of. But there is also this other aspect of ourselves that is reaching for more, that knows that better is possible. And my desire is that more people start to tune into that and recognize that that really is a beautiful part of us, an important part of us. I don't like to get overly spiritual or certainly not religious, but I do say that is a divine inner calling. That is the part of us that's sort of saying, you are capable of more. There's more for you to expand into. Those aren't just wishful thinkings. Those are dreams. Those are goals. Those are sincere desires that are calling you to be a happier, more empowered, more successful version of yourself, to make the most out of this life, to be more of benefit and of service to others. And the thing that I guess I'll leave then with is, when you're aware that you have that desire for more, don't discount it. That is a sincere inner calling for expansion. And if you have a desire in your heart, then there is a way to fulfill it. It may not look exactly like our ego likes to play it out in our minds, but once we're willing to get on that path, amazing, awesome things can happen in our life.
Well, that's a great journey. Appreciate you sharing that with us today. How best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
Best way is through my website, aliciacramer.com. Everything is on there, including links to social media, my podcast, so they can listen to you on my podcast. So aliciacramer.com is where I would direct anybody to that has any interest in exploring the work that I do further.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today and sharing your journey with the audience, and appreciate all the insights you've brought up today, and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Love that. Thanks, Hall.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.